Hello everyone and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all of the weekly PlayStation and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here at youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, this week alongside my unorthodox rabbi, the man of many pixels, Richie.
I'm slightly worried about this show because I let you down a bit yesterday and I imagine you two are going to be brutal.
We'll get into all that, don't you?
We will.
And alongside him, returning once again after a 2-week absence, the welcome return of my fellow other unorthodox rabbi, Reformed Bill Clinton. Rob, welcome back.
I'm back like Arnold, baby.
Back like Arnold, and probably has no point of reference for what this unorthodox Bill Clinton rabbi stuff is because you didn't check
I actually
out the
do.
game was.
I do.
You've read into
it's
it.
It's impossible to miss. Impossible to miss.
Okay, so we will get into all this, of course, boys and girls. But before we do all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here at Helix Cloud Games. Just like our live streams that go live every Thursday, sometimes Friday, where we play a game with you, the wonderful community, or we in fact watch along and react live to the 3.5 hour long expose that was the Game Awards this past Thursday, Friday, depending on time zones, where we watched Jeff Keighley and the Muppets present all of the awards to the best people in the entire gaming industry. It went on for so long, even though this year was supposed to be shorter. It just kept going. It just kept going. Our stream, Richie, ended up being 5 hours plus, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, we did jump on early for the sake of the people in the UK because of time zones. We didn't want to schedule it for like after midnight and then confuse people who go, oh, it's tomorrow, when actually it was Thursday. It really went live for us, but either way, I digress. Plenty to break down, plenty to talk about, and that is going to be the bulk of today's show, mixed in with all of the PlayStation goodness and excitement. But of course, we do loads of other wonderful programs here on the channel, and just want to highlight a few of them. Of course, we've got X-Pass, our Xbox podcast that goes live every Monday. It went live yesterday. Go check that out where we break down all the Xbox news. Of course, this show goes live every Tuesday. It is available on podcast services as well out there in the wide world. And of course, our Helix Heroes, the wonderful members, the patrons who support this channel that extra little bit more. You guys get a lot of that content early with stickers, badges, and extra packs next to your name. But before we dive into things, shout out to our newest Helix Heroes who will be sponsoring the news this week because we've had quite a boon recently. I don't know, Richie, we've been keeping an eye on it, and it seems like every week we go and check in, and there are new Helix Heroes there in the list. So there's over 50 of you, 50 plus strong right now. Shout out to our newest members, Ted Wu, Xbox Nation, also known as Fletch, Hungry Moogle, and NTP, No Time P, who've just joined in the last week or so with Super Chats and joining on the bronze tier. Thank you very much for your support and patronage. It definitely puts a smile on our face when we were awake at 4:30 on Thursday, on Friday morning, I think it was, when we saw that we did like a quick refresh after the show, and it was, that's awesome. Thanks. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, gentlemen, we won't put this as a news segment. Have we been playing anything this last week before we delve into it? Rob, you've been missing for 2 weeks. You've been scrambling with work, or have you actually had time to detox and play some games?
Work's been painful, but I have actually managed to jump back into Shadow of War, which was like, I was just like browsing through Game Pass, and then the urge, do you know, it's like you see a title and the urge just kind of hits you, and it's like, well, I have no reason not to play this. Well, I did have lots of reasons not to play, but I ignored all of them. And then just, jump back into Shadow of War. And what a game. Like,
it is.
Come on. Like, just
Shadow,
superb.
yeah, that's the sequel as well, Shadow of War, isn't it? So it's got all the refinements going on with it.
Yeah.
That's one that's been perpetually on my backlog. And I don't mean this is like a backlog as in, oh, look, all these games I could play. I mean, this is a game that I do want to find time at some point to play. Mm-hmm. But it's now been so long since release, it's just sat there. Like, eventually I'll get to it.
Yeah. Have you played it before, or was it your first time player?
I've played Shadow of Mordor, but I haven't played Shadow of War.
Okay. Well, not to give spoilers, but I just finished the arena level, and holy shit, what a level that is as well at the end. It was like the kind of like the build-up of it. But I won't say anything more, Richie, because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Do you think it's just one of them games that it did have a bit of controversy when it came out, because it was right in the middle of the loot box stuff going on with like Battlefront 2, and it got kind of dragged into that? Do you think people just give it a pass because of that? Because I don't think it did the same like the sort of impact that
yeah.
Shadow of Mordor did.
I think it got a bit of impact because it is more of the same in essence, and the Nemesis system was already kind of fully in play. And this one, they just iterated on it. I do think the loot box, I think, dragged it down a little bit in terms of making it, because the Shadow of Mordor was like Game of the Year winning like all over the place, and this was just more of that. Which again, as a Lord of the Rings fan and a fan of the first game, this was just like perfect release. I'm so annoyed they haven't made like a third entry yet, and they've pivoted towards a Wonder Woman game, which again, I'm sure it's a great title, but they could have. I feel like 3 would have rounded out that trilogy just perfectly, because some of the stories, although it's not novel canon with Tolkien's work, the best thing I loved about the second one was just how they went into like the Ringwraith's history and what each of them meant, and there's some of those moments where they tie it in. It's like, oh, that's just cool as shit.
Like, honestly, in my head, it is canon.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to get that played out on the big screen anywhere, really. Like, chances are very, very slim. So the fact that you get to experience like who these Ringwraiths were in their past life is like, oh, it's such a cool concept to delve into, and it's great.
I just wonder, is it because like they made the decision to put loot boxes in and made it apparently very grindy and stuff, and you could buy XP boosts and stuff, that upset a lot of people, so a lot of people just stayed clear of the game because, again, height of the loot box controversy.
Yeah, I think a lot of
audiences,
audiences,
and then because it didn't do the same numbers that it wanted it to do, they went, oh well, it's not selling, when it's actually no, it's not selling because you made stupid decisions rather than it's a bad game.
I don't even think it was necessarily stupid decisions. Like, we're getting outside of it, but I think it was just any game that was attached to a loot box at that time was getting shanked very hard.
It got pulled into
That's
the
what
black
I mean by
hole.
a stupid decision. Even if the loot boxes weren't that egregious, having them in a single player game was pretty much a death knell for you at that point.
Yeah,
well, like Battlefront, they patched it out so the loot boxes weren't that like impactful on the game. But I platinumed that game without feeling any necessity to invest any more of my money other than the outright purchase. So it's definitely, I didn't feel like there was even much of a grind to it, to be fair. But I guess everyone plays different paces and different styles. I'm one of these who clears the whole area before moving on to the next part of the story. So for me, I'd probably already raised my level to such a degree that by the time I moved on to the next chapter, I never felt like I was being held back. But I found that with like Assassin's Creed Origins and everything, like the way I play, it never lends itself to needing kind of XP boosts and stuff.
I'm kind of doing the same thing with Pokemon at the moment. The problem is that game is huge, and I think I've got about 3 badges, and my team is all around about level 45, 50. It's like they are so overpowered for like any sort of like actual, to the point where I'm contemplating building a second team and just starting leveling them up from scratch again. Once I've got this team to like into like the level 70s or something. Because otherwise the game's just going to be boring, because I'm just going to be one-shotting everything.
That 4th gym leader is not even going to see you coming. You're just going to rock up at the gym for that 4th badge and be like, take this, bitches.
That's literally what it was like for the last gym I challenged, and it's like, okay, this is just not even a challenge. Like,
that's hilarious.
At all.
The best part about Pokemon, the way it lays out, is you know for a fact that gym leader is going to give you so much smack talk leading up to the start of the battle. Like, oh, you've shown up here with only 3 badges, rookie.
One shot.
And then, you used to decimate his entire, like, gym squad. And he's going to... You might as well just sell the whole building over to you at that point, lease and everything. Yeah. But we do digress. So you've been playing some more Pokemon, Rob's on Shadow of War. I haven't really done much this week in terms of gaming. I've had other projects and stuff with work rounded up. I don't actually think I've ever played it. Oh, actually, scratch that. I did. I checked out the Forspoken demo. I did make a point of jumping onto that. So part of the Game Awards was they announced Forspoken, some more information on it, and then they dropped a demo. So download it. It's available on PS5 now, everyone out there. So if you want to check it out, it gives you kind of like a little segment slice of a map area for you to go freely and explore. Few takeaways. Graphics look beautiful, gorgeous, stunning as you'd expect. Gameplay, super fun. Like the traversal, the little kind of like magic ice skates that she's got. Very enjoyable to actually run around, because even though it's an open world, it feels very manageable because of how quick she can move around, even on foot, because of this kind of like little magic ice skate power. Combat seems really cool. You can switch between different styles of power. So you've got, in the demo anyway, you've got kind of like fire power, which is like melee. So you've got like a fictional magical sword appears for your like close-to-close combat. But then for your distance, you've got to switch to a different power, which is ice, I think. And that was like long distance. You could shoot crows down with like magic burst shots and such. So it does seem like there's going to be a lot of like variation with elemental powers at some point. Criticisms: does nothing in the demo to basically set the scene. It just goes, here's the open map, go have fun. Doesn't give you any context for story. There's no cutscene teaser. It literally goes, start here, have at this open area, which I would have liked.
It's a gameplay demo.
Yeah, but I would have liked a little bit to sell me on the crux of the story a bit more. Like I have no idea what's going on in this world other than I have powers. I'm a young girl, and that's about the extent of it. But I did have fun, and there's a character who I think she gets her powers from like these like Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings bracelets that's like fused to her arm, and the bracelet talks to her, and it's got the same accent you'd expect from Jarvis and Iron Man, and he gives you shit all the time. So like when you kill 10 people, he's like, oh, guess you're getting better at this, and she's like, yeah, I am. So what of it? And he's like, oh, just saying. And it's like they have like this interesting like banter back and forth. But yeah, I'm excited, and obviously it comes out end of January, so we're 5-6 weeks away at this point. So I know this is one on your list, Richie, for your next probably outright purchase. You had a chance to check the demo?
I've got it installed, but I've not been well enough to play.
Now let's get into that. What do you mean you've not been well enough to play? What happened over the weekend?
So Friday night was my wife's Christmas party, and we had plans to record at this show's on Saturday, 1:00. 2:30, I text Chris because I woke up with a lot of missed calls and text. Rob and Chris generally worried about me. I was hungover. It was brutal, and it was well earned. I have some regrets, but not many because I enjoyed myself.
I've never... See, this is a weird thing with me and hangovers. No matter how bad I am, I always regain consciousness enough to like
grasp on
sort some shit out in the morning. It's like
I was dead. I was not human.
You're one of those monsters from Forspoken.
If you think of you think of all the different kinds of hangovers, and you get the headache you want, it's just general weariness, the feeling sick you want. I had all of it.
Cranked up to the max. Yeah, so me and Rob logged in at our usual agreed time to record, and we sat there and had a catch up, and then about 5 minutes in we were like, where the hell is Richie? And then we thought, like, well, we couldn't really do the shows without you because you were there for all the Game Awards reveals. So we very much thought it would have just been
an
hour.
Of two of them.
That too. And it would have just been me telling Rob what happened at the Game Awards. Rob going, oh, that sounds fun. Anyway,
nice.
Like keep going. So we made the choice to reconvene, and then it was only several hours after we were thinking like he could be dead, and we wouldn't know because he's not answering his phone. He's not ringing. I don't have a key to your house or anything. So it was like, at what point I was thinking, like, I still know his parents' phone number. I could ring his parents. But then is that too much to then involve your parents in this? It was almost like, where's my, like, responsibility to a friend here?
Well, I think after you knew I was out the night before and there's a still potential hangover situation, like, yeah.
Yes. Much. But then...
If it was today, like another day on, that's down again.
Maybe. But it was that... Again, I knew you were out on a Christmas night, but what's to say you get to... Like, we live near the coast. Like, there's nothing to say you lose your way home and end up in the sea, drunk. And I don't know, you get washed out to Europe or something.
Yeah, like, we were all terrible at Sea of Thieves, so, like, if you hit that water, then you're done.
Speak for yourself. I was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just go watch our first look of Sea of Thieves. The last 10 minutes in particular when Richie totally sinks our ship and drags us all down to Davy Jones.
Literally, as you're doing the outro.
But all that aside, though, it's nice to know that you've recovered. Obviously, commiserations to the England team as well. I got my score right on my prediction, but unfortunately it was the wrong way it went. We'll be back in 2 years for the Euros, I guess. But sad times. But one hell of a final. Croatia-Morocco final for me. If that's even a possibility in the fixtures, I'll take it.
I want Morocco to take it now.
I'd love Morocco to have it. But this is, of course, a PlayStation podcast, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost. Let's not delay any further, boys. Rob, if you could introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news. I've had a few weeks off and I completely forgot I had to do that. And like by some miracle, like the document was like on the left hand side and I could just jump on it. So well done, me.
It's all right. What did I think? I actually, when you were missing last week when we did X-Pass, I forgot I'm the one who normally does it. And actually, Richie flung it over to me, and I was like, "Oh, it's because Rob's not here." And then he was like, "Rob never does it anyway on the show." I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right. That was my job all to begin with." But I think, in your absence, I just got confused myself. So the news this week, as we said, it's predominantly Game Awards. By all means, go check out our watch-along live stream. It's about an hour and a half in, it starts, and it's a whole fantastic show of announcements. And me and Richie both get very, very tired and tipsy at the same. It all kind of transcends at the same time to this great crossing point, probably about half an hour from the end of the show, where we're just laughing at anything. And I think at one point I went off on a rant about
delirium.
Yeah, at one point I went off on a rant about why ponchos should be a thing.
Yeah,
and then of course the whole show culminated in what was the very end, which was it had us in absolute stitches. This random creepy kid, if anyone's not seen the Game Awards out there, so it was obviously Game of the Year, shout out to Elden Ring, claimed the title for the year. Miyazaki and the team up on stage with his translator, basically breaking it down. Everyone's celebrating in awe of everything, and there's this creepy little kid. And if you watch it back, he just basically, when they get up to go on the stage, he walks up and just joins them from right at the back of the audience. No one suspects it. And then when they're all saying their goodbyes and they're about to get off stage, he just takes the microphone and goes, "I'd like to nominate this award to my unorthodox reformed rabbi, Bill Clinton." And then me and Richie going, who is this kid? Did he just say Rabbi Bill Clinton? What is going on? Jeff Keighley kind of shifty comes over and goes, "Well, that's been it for a great show."
Oh, he was very quick to jump on the mic.
To what's going on? Obviously, security ushering this random kid off. And it just seemed to create like utter confusion at the end. And we kind of like were wrapping up the stream going like, what was that? We went straight to Twitter, Richie, to check out after the show, like before we went to bed, just some of the fallout and the memes. Internet, you did yourselves proud on this one. Like within 5 minutes, there was just meme city all over the place of this kid, and there was people showing him as an Elden Ring boss and death animation.
I'd love for him to be like a DLC character in Elden Ring.
I kind of wish we kept going live for like another 10-15 minutes, because I don't think it fully settled in. Like when we wrapped the show and then we started seeing the memes and we were just in hysterics for the next like 15 minutes.
It
just
was
off camera.
Jeff Keighley tweeted out afterwards, like he always does, and says, "Great show for another year. Give us your feedback and thoughts." And the comments were just everyone going to town saying, "More of that kid. Bring back that guy. What is that? Bring back Bill Clinton next year to present an award," and all of these just hilarious things going on.
He's apparently been arrested, that kid, now.
He has, which I think is a bit.
Well,
I get why.
Is it a crime? I mean, it's terrible, especially for like Miyazaki and stuff. Like it kind of overshadowed their moment.
Yeah, I don't think it is a crime though, because trespass isn't a crime.
He's got a ticket for the event. He's since came out and been interviewed by a few people. This young lad, so he's done a few pranks before. He was at another showcase a few years back when he brought up like the Hong Kong stuff. So he's been interviewed, and he wasn't actually arrested because the police said that they kind of had words with him. But at the end of the day, if you've got a ticket for an event and you walk up on stage, there's nothing illegal about that, really. Like, if anything, security on site should just be there for that reason. Yeah. And it does make you question, like, what if he had ulterior motives? But then, like, he could have done that, like, right on set. He could have done much, much worse. Yeah. But yeah, he's just some like daft kid who used his moment in the limelight to highlight Bill Clinton as some kind of
absolutely nothing. That's the funniest part. He's done it to highlight absolutely nothing, and that's why I quite admire him.
Yeah, needless to say, the security be quite a lot better next year.
Undoubtedly. Yeah. And like I was telling my wife about it, saying like, look what happened at the end, and she was like, why did nobody stop him? And I was like, well, kind of like when they announced the awards, like I don't know half the development team are for Elden Ring. Like I don't know what they look like, or like bar Miyazaki and maybe a few of his like core lead staff. Like at award ceremonies, sometimes like 20-30 people go up on stage, especially for the big one. Yeah. And I did question, I think, Richie, we were looking at it going, who's this kid? Like, this kid can't surely work.
He's kind of stood in the background. It's like he's not like stood in line with the rest of like the developers. He's just off in the background. It's like, who is he? He's like,
yeah, like, is he one of their children? And like, you know what? Too visually, he does look a bit like Joseph Fares, who presented the award. So I was like, and he's quite ballsy. He comes out sticking his fingers up and saying "fuck the Oscars." So for his son to come up with him during the Game of the Year awards, it's like, I mean, I wouldn't put it past someone like that. But
like practically, like no event secure, like the kind of like the venue security guards are gonna have like absolutely no clue who anybody is.
Not at all.
No.
Like,
if he's dressed smart and he gets up when the award winner is announced, like why would you question that?
None of the people who were involved if said anything or even given a weird look. They just didn't seem to.
Yeah, well, if anything, the Elden Ring crew should have been like, who the fuck's this kid? Like up on stage.
But they probably just thought he was like a stage aid or something. Like
yeah, it's all lost in translation. But here we are. He's got his 15 seconds of fame, I guess, and it was hilarious. And me and Richie were like, we were almost like in tears laughing at some of the tweets and stuff afterwards. But let's not take away from Game of the Year 2022 goes to Elden Ring. It pipped mine and Richie's choice of Ragnarok for Game of the Year. However, I think Ragnarok.
I predicted.
I think Ragnarok did clean up shop on every other award that it was nominated for, maybe bar one. So we'll just run through a couple of them here. We've got Game of the Year, of course. Yeah, Elden Ring coming out winner on top. Best Game Direction also went to Elden Ring, which was outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, which again, very fitting. Best Narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game went to God of War Ragnarok. Best Art Direction went to Elden Ring, which was outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Best Musical Score went to Bear McCreary for God of War Ragnarok, which, by the way, again, the Game Award Orchestra smashed it out of the park, but I think it was Bear McCreary and who was the singer, Richie, again? I forgot his name. Why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden?
Oh my
Hosier?
God, well.
Hosier. That's it, yeah. Who comes out looking like motherfucking Tia from the actual game. He's like 6'7" or something, Hosier. Stood next to little Bear McCreary playing his I was going to say didgeridoo. Hurdy-gurdy. The instrument he was playing was called a hurdy-gurdy, which is like a windy-up violin guitar thing. And just rocking on stage with fake snow. And Richie, you pointed out the song Blood Upon the Snow, I think, was like an amazing choice for a Bond soundtrack and a Bond name. James Bond, Blood Upon the Snow. Like, I'd go watch that.
You can see the poster now, can't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. That was killer. So yeah, best score, God of War Ragnarok. Audio design, also Ragnarok. Best performance, Christopher Judge for God of War Ragnarok. And we won't go into this because there was all the other titles like best esports and stuff. Which again, Game Awards, we were disappointed by, Richie, just fobbing off these titles. Best indie game, Rob, was just a casual mention during, like, between adverts, just off on the side, just best indie game of the year, nominations, blah 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 blah, winner, Stray, next, and then moved on. It was like,
they haven't given enough money to the actual event hosters. That's the thing.
Lined enough pockets.
Yeah, I kind of think that should be like the penultimate award. You do the best indie game, then you do the best overall game.
Yeah, but Stray came out winner for that one. Stray also get best debut indie game. Marvel Snap won best mobile game, yet Richie still refuses to play Marvel Snap, even though I'm sure he said if it won best game of the year a few weeks ago, he would.
I didn't say that. You said that.
The chat, someone in the comments suggested or said something happened along them lines.
Right. Someone go, if I did say, find it on a show, clip it out and send it on Twitter. And if I did say it, I will play the game.
I'm going to deep fake your voice into a clip and just send it to you now.
Yeah, he's definitely said Marvel Snap enough times to pull that audio log.
Yeah, Marvel Snap. Yeah, it's on my first
I will
purchase.
play it.
It'll be there somewhere.
Definitely. Best innovation and accessibility, Ragnarok. Best action adventure game, Ragnarok. Best action game, Bayonetta 3 coming in with a cheeky one there. Best RPG winner went to Elden Ring. And what else really was there? I think the rest of it was just kind of a mix of other smaller things. Esports athlete, esports coach, esport event, esport game, which they did just cluster into about 2 minutes. They went esport and just basically like rattled them off like no one gives a shit.
Yeah. To be fair, who's going to be like, I'm really looking forward to see who's coach of the year for
some
esports.
Random Valorant team or something. Absolutely. And most anticipated game, Legend Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I feel like has won it for like 3 years in a row now.
Yeah, that one was just an obvious one. It was a good selection. Final Fantasy XVI, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, and Starfield were the other nominees. Mm-hmm. But I think Breath of the Wild did so much. The next Zelda game is just going to sell.
Especially if it launches alongside another Switch. Ooh, what a year we're in for next year. But aside from all of the Game Award winners and, of course, all of the craziness that happened at the end of the Game Awards, we also got a ton of news coming out. Game announcements and stuff. Some multi-platform, some specific to PlayStation. If you do want to hear all of our Xbox-specific thoughts, check out yesterday's episode of the X-Pass podcast. Where I think, Richie, looking out there in the wide world of the internet, it seems to be that Xbox fans weren't too happy with Xbox's presence at the Game Awards, so we'll definitely be delving into all that.
Here's an interesting thing. I don't think there was a heavy presence from Sony as well. It's almost as if there's a big fight going on behind the scenes between Sony and Microsoft right now, and no one wants to give an inch.
I mean, you say that, but we're about to talk about 3 big stories.
Yeah, fair.
Which we'll get into. Of course, I haven't mentioned it, but the news is sponsored by our Helix Heroes. We already name-dropped you at the start, but thank you again for that. Story number 1 of the Game Awards then, Hideo Kojima, which we knew he was always going to be there because he's like Jeff Keighley's best mate. It's 2 guarantees for the Game Awards every year. The Muppets and Jeff Keighley. Kojima. They are like
we
the
got
two.
both.
I guess Jeff Keighley is a third one. He's going to be a constant at these things. He's the host after all. But yeah, we started off with a trailer. We knew it was going to be Kojima, but we didn't know what it was going to be. There was some rumors ahead of time about a Metal Gear Solid remake, and he'd kind of buried the hatchet with Konami and such. Some thought it was going to be this new horror game that he's been working on, which ended up, again, not being a thing. And it was revealed it was, in fact, Death Stranding 2. So the follow-up sequel to the Norman Reedus-led title that came out back in 2019, I believe it was, is getting a sequel, a straight follow-up. Although it does seem to be marketed as DS2 instead. It showed off, Baby, or a BB, I guess. I haven't played Death Stranding 2, so Death Stranding 1, so I'm not too sure about all the characters and what that means. I know the baby at some point ends up in like a little glass jar that gets DPD Amazon courier serviced around this crazy world with like ink rain that makes you old. Norman Reedus does show up again, looking old as shit. So I think he's been impacted by this age rain to some degree. And I'll be honest, after seeing it all, it made me want to go start Death Stranding. So it's kind of done its job on two fronts. But I think this was one of those, a lot of people figured Death Stranding might have just been a one and done, especially since Kojima's now made deals with like Xbox to make a cloud-specific exclusive for them. And also, we don't know what he's working on, but this runs on the Decima engine, which of course is from Guerrilla Games, so it's the Horizon Zero Dawn engine. And I guess, Rob, you weren't there for the initial breakdown. Where are you sitting on the Death Stranding front? And because I know you're a big Metal Gear fan, so
yeah, like the thing is, I love Metal Gear, and I'll jump on anything kind of Kojima kind of puts out there. But I just couldn't get into Death Stranding. Number one, it was just,
what was it about it?
I don't know. Like I didn't mind the pace. Everyone says it's like a slow game. I didn't mind that at all. For me, it was there was too many systems and micromanagement and kind of layers which I just thought were like pulling me away from anything interesting. Like the pack thing, oh god, I can't even talk about it now.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't stick with it because of that. And I felt like when I was like neglecting those systems, I was really hamstringing myself. So that's what kind of made me just drop it off and pick something a bit simpler.
Yeah, it's certainly not. It seems to be like a very love it or hate it game, Death Stranding. Like, I've seen people say it's one of their favourite titles of all time. But then others just say, like, yeah, it just became so monotonous and repetitive so quickly because of the nature of, like, the balancing features and, like, stuff. Like, I can picture me playing it and being frustrated by, I've dropped everything and it's fell in the river. And then after a while, you think, why the hell am I doing this? Like, I'm collecting fictional cargo.
If you're into that like level of immersion, if that's what you want from games, you want it to be as realistic as possible. Then I could see the appeal.
I guess it's the same way I struggled a bit with Red Dead 2 because of the
granular level of detail is just too much. Because I play video game to do video game ass shit, not live out monotonous, boring things that I do in my everyday life, like feed the horse. Not that I do that in real life, but you know what I mean. Like Red Dead went so granular, like topping up your food and making sure you were healthy, and kind of like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas when I was like going to the gym was fun at first, but after a while you're like, oh my god, I'm losing weight. I have to go eat and go to the gym just to be able to walk without feeling fatigued. It's like okay.
I love sim games which go into those like depths as their kind of core gameplay element, but when I feel it's kind of interrupting what a game's supposed to be giving me, that's when it becomes an issue. Like I don't go into like a console game to have that level of detail. Same with the oils in Witcher. Didn't particularly like that system either.
The oils, I like them.
No, again, it's just something I thought was getting in the way of things. But so yeah, love Kojima, but I want to love Death Stranding, and I just can't.
Yeah, I think I'm in those two minds where I think I'll definitely enjoy loads of elements, but kind of similar in a way, there's parts of Metal Gear Solid like Phantom Pain, which just, again, it gets so granular. Like, after you've Fulton lifted like 50 people, it's like, why am I doing this for like the 100th time? And like, it's so many great things. And again,
the home base in Metal Gear Solid 5 kind of took over the game a bit.
Yeah, and it was like, why am I just constantly back here to slightly tweak my mother base a little bit? And I get what you're saying, but it is kind of like a love or hate it kind of relationship. But he doesn't have to go just all out, doesn't he? Like he just, he has a bit. Let this guy make a movie finally.
he has a vision. He executes on his vision, and I kind of like how he doesn't seem to just bend to pressure for like any studios or anything. That's why I think he's so fiercely independent now. He can just execute his vision and not have some marketing exec telling me he has to have this in it or this in it.
Yeah. And to an extent, it's good that I don't like this game, because if this game was universally liked, then it wouldn't be like games are kind of divisive should have their place in the ecosystem.
Yeah,
like not every game has to be for everybody, because then they all just become the same game.
Yeah, Ubisoft.
Exactly. I looked at Death Stranding on the run up to it, and I was like, I'm just not interested in this game at all. And I felt it was kind of this game was get 90% of the marketing was because it was Kojima. That's why I should play it, rather than the game standing out on its own merits. So I just never bothered with it.
Yeah, and I guess it goes to stand as well is it's a PlayStation exclusive. So we've got another. Obviously, no doubt this will be timed similar to the last one was. It went on PC. I feel like after a year, and then eventually it made its way over to Xbox. But Sony do own the IP, I believe, in publishing rights or something like that. So we'll have to see. Pardon me. At the time of writing or time of recording, over on Eurogamer they did a poll. How do you feel about Death Stranding? And 61% have said they are hyped. Time for some more deliveries. 17% said cautiously optimistic. Well, let's wait and see. 16% said not interested, and 6% said why is it called DS2? Yeah, there's some like why not just call it Death Stranding 2? There does seem to be like a marketing choice that's happened there, but we shall see. So that was the first one, big exclusive there coming out for PlayStation initially, whether you love it or hate it. Second bit of news we got, which it kind of surprised a lot of people, but also not at the same time. Horizon Forbidden West basically lost out on the Game Awards completely. Between Elden Ring and Ragnarok duking it out, it's almost as though Forbidden West did not come out this year. The poor game, similar to last time with Breath of the Wild, it just got kind of gobbled up by everything else. But in the midst, there was a new side adventure announced for Aloy. Horizon Forbidden West will be getting a DLC expansion coming on 19th of April next year, known as Horizon Burning Shores, which is a cool-ass name. Takes place in Hollywood.
Another Bond.
Another cool Bond name, yeah. It'll take place in the ruins of Los Angeles. The city is overgrown and fractured, and Aloy will need to explore it on the air of Sunwing and via the water and take on a new mysterious threat in downtown Hollywood on a volcanic archipelago. Richie, you finished Horizon Forbidden West, one of our favourite games, my favourite game of the year as well. One of my favourite games, just to clarify. Where do you sit on this Burning Shores DLC? Would you dive back into it? Because you're not really a DLC person, but this does look cool.
It looks cool, but especially when a game is like, it took me probably about 80 hours to get the platinum in Horizon. When I was done with that game, when I'm done with this game, I've moved on. And I think it's one of the problems sometimes you get with DLC where it's almost a year since like the game came out. So I was like,
it'll be beyond, yeah.
If I was to play this, I'd probably want to play through Horizon again, and early next year, I'm just not going to have the time. There's just more stuff I'm interested in.
Did you play Frozen Wilds for the first one?
I always intended to. I've always intended to go back to Zero Dawn, and just other things kept getting in the way. My plan was to replay through Zero Dawn, and then go into Frozen Wilds. But it just never happened.
Right, that's how I did it. I did New Game Plus to get the trophies, and then went into Frozen Wilds after the New Game Plus, because there is a lot to be acclimatized back to, like the weapon loadout and the way you take down different distinct creatures and animals. Is like, if you've not played the game for a long time, your brain just, your muscle memory's kind of gone, and your fight style's gone, and you don't remember what poison impacts what hazard, and you do end up just getting frustrated very early doors. So to jump into some story DLC, I completely get you with that one. Surprised it's getting it, because Ragnarok doesn't seem to.
No,
Last of Us Part 2 didn't get anything, so PlayStation don't. Death Stranding didn't, so there's not really like a precedence except for the other Horizon game. I guess Spider-Man got some with its City That Never Sleeps DLC.
Horizon, I think, lends itself to DLC a bit more than Ragnarok. With Ragnarok, the narrative is very tight. You progress, you work your way through the narrative. With Horizon being a lot more open worldy, you can literally add another area to the map, build a story around that area of the map and what's going on there, and then you got your DLC. I don't think Ragnarok will be harder to do.
Yeah.
With like how much more the story is like central to that game.
Interesting stuff. So we'll have to see. Again, I won't come out full price. You're probably talking what, £20 for the Burning Shores DLC.
Yeah.
And for all we know, that we might not be playing anything at the time. They might do an awesome marketing campaign, do something to tease us in, and then you just kind of think, you get that itch, that pull to go, oh, you know what? I mean, most people are about to go back to The Witcher 3 for the 50th time in the next few days, so it might have the same ripple-on effect. But nice to see Decima Engine being put through its paces. I like the thought of everything being on fire, like volcanic and such, because that's quite different to what we're traditionally seeing in Horizon. They do a lot to go through all the seasons. There's like an ice area, there's a desert area, there's a jungle area. Underwater was a big part of Forbidden West. Give us some volcano ash and shit falling apart around us. Could be very, very interesting.
My problem with this is just how stacked March is, especially.
Good thing it comes
and
out
then
in April.
In May, there's Zelda. So the amount of games that come out in March I'd want to play, that's going to carry into April.
Burning Shores is going to get caught out by Zelda. It's just Horizon and Zelda are just destined to duke it out in this battle for the ages. Moving on, though, we did get an interesting introduction to a new video game, world premiere, as such, from BioShock creator Ken Levine, coming back with his brand new studio Ghost Story Games to reveal Judas, which is inspired by BioShock, and it's so inspired by it, Richie. I think within the first 3 minutes of the trailer, me and you were just going, is it BioShock? Is this BioShock? This looks like BioShock. No, it can't be BioShock.
We know there's a new BioShock game coming.
Yeah, it might be BioShock. And then just going through that for the first few minutes. So it's definitely heavily inspired by BioShock. We won't spend too long on this one because I think we'll talk about it on X-Pass, because I think BioShock, naturally with the first game being exclusive to Xbox for a period of time, I think a lot of people associate it with being an Xbox specific title, so we'll save it for that when we get into it over on that show. Oh, yesterday, I guess, if you're watching this on the Tuesday. Any quick thoughts on Judas and BioShock before we get into it?
I've never really played BioShock, so again, this is one of those games that's been perpetually on my list of things to play that I never played them at the time they were initially released. I own the collection on PlayStation, and I just haven't jumped into them.
What you need to do is quit your job, stop drinking heavily on a weekend, and finish these damn classic titles.
I know, it's terrible.
What do you think of the name Judas? Because obviously it invokes lots of religious elements to it just by the name, even though it doesn't look like it's got anything to do with Christianity.
I'm just going to think everyone's going to betray me in this game. That's the issue. It's are you Judas? Are you?
Yeah. Who is the true Judas in this game? There might be a lot more biblical stuff that when you get deep into the lore and stuff, inspired by some deep cuts from Christianity sort of things.
Well, that's kind of it, because BioShock, without spoilers for you, Richie, there's a lot of it that kind of rests on man's prejudice and how society in America was back in the 1930s, 40s and such, and how that turns into this world.
I'm aware of things like Rapture is meant to be a utopian society that kind of fell apart.
Yeah, exactly. And it does look like Ken Levine is. It's almost copy my homework, but make sure you change a few things. Yeah. Because it's I get it. It's almost actually going to be a very similar way to Callisto Protocol and Dead Space. How I do get the feeling that when Judas finally comes out, watch it come out 3 months before or after the new BioShock game, and there's going to be so many straight comparisons drawn between the two just by proxy of Ken Levine being involved, and the first BioShock game in over a decade. It's it's got a lot to live up to. But it looks cool. Gameplay looks fun, and if it is anything like BioShock, hell yeah. But go check out X-Pass, where we'll probably delve a little bit more into it and BioShock, and Richie will reveal once again that he hasn't played it on a different show. Yesterday. One things that we will be able to play though soon is Crash Team Rumble. That's right, announced by Toys for Bob. Crash Bandicoot appeared on stage like an actual marsupial crawled out and announced this. No, it was a guy in a giant suit outfit like a mascot you would see at a sports match. And we've obviously had a lot of a resurgence from Crash Bandicoot. We had the Insane Trilogy, we had Nitro Fueled Team Racing, and then we also got Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time a few years back. We didn't know what was going to happen with it. It was at the end of the franchise where they're wrapping things up, of course. At the time, Activision folded all of these teams into working on Call of Duty. So Vicarious Visions, who did the trilogy, they all got kind of shafted over to working on Call of Duty support. And then the whole Microsoft merger stuff's going on, bit weird. But yeah, it showed up on stage to announce Crash Team Rumble, which is if I can find the listing of it, because it doesn't make any sense. It's a 8-player competitive online match where it looks like it's hard because I actually had a look online and on the website and stuff to see if I could kind of figure out what the hell this was, because I think even when we watched the trailer, Richie, we didn't really get a vibe for what was going on other than chaos between all of the characters.
It's a Crash game, but like to know, it's difficult to understand what this game still is even now. Like
it looks like we said some form of like Mario Party with like mini games, but at the same time it looks like, in what I'm kind of like settling on, is it looks like Splatoon, where you have to kind of color the area of the map with Wumpa fruits to kind of claim zones, while you have like an assorted bunch of weapons and powers to kind of kill each other. So a bit like some of the Crash Team Racing's arena battles, but on foot with assorted power-ups and such. So it's a bit, I don't know, I'm a bit lost in this one. It doesn't really do any, as a massive Crash Bandicoot fan, it doesn't really do anything for me.
What I think we need to see is some actual proper gameplay footage, because we've only really seen cinematics at this point. And then we have a better understanding what this game actually is, how it's going to play out.
Yeah, it says in the pursuit of fruit in the trailer, so it does seem to be like, I guess the team of 4v4 are going to have to break out, collect as much fruit to win the game, but then at the end you see Crash like slam dunking a Wumpa fruit into like this glowing orb. So I do feel like each arena is going to have like a different mini game element to it. But yeah, I'd rather just have another Crash Team Racing or another like 3D platformer, rather than this kind of trying to shoehorn it into like Overwatch style 4v4 battles.
They're doing the Mario thing again with Crash, where they're going to have every couple of years a main series game come out, and then in the interim they're going to release like a party style game like this one. They might bring it up with another Crash Bash, another Crash Team Racing, all that sort of stuff.
They should have done Crash Bash. That would have just been, I would have knew what it was. And they could have done 4v4, 8v8, expanded it with
this might have started off as a remake of Crash Bash, and it just evolved a bit.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I love Crash, and like I didn't think I could be disappointed by any Crash news, and I just was.
Yeah, I don't not hate the name. Crash Team Rumble's fine. It's
yeah.
Playing on the team racing element, Rumble, because we thought it was going to be called Wumpa League, was like the leaked stuff. So Crash Bandicoot Wumpa League would have meant like nothing to me. So I think Team Rumble does kind of lend itself a little bit more to what this game looks like.
You're getting the Crash Team as part of, that's your party branding there.
Yeah, and then just interchange the word out. Again, I hope it's fun. I'm curious about what price it is, because like if anything, 4v4 online competitive match, it strikes me more as a game you'd put on like a free, like straight to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus to get loads of people in the door. Whereas all the other Crash games, they're traditionally just linear. Even the racing one, like you can do a whole campaign just racing with bots. So this is the first one that's kind of leaning more towards online multiplayer, which I think, why as a traditional fan, it doesn't do anything for me, because that's not the type of gamer I am anyway. So we'll see. Still coming to all the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, last gen, current gen as well next year. So we'll probably find out more.
If it comes to Game Pass, then we might get stream out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like again, I'm still, if they show me more gameplay, the allure of Crash Bandicoot alone might pull me in still. But if I'm just playing with dweebs online and stuff and get my ass handed to me by kids, like it's not going to do anything for me. I've got a feeling
it's for like a generation younger than us who have like rediscovered Crash in the most recent years, and then this is a way of playing Crash online with their friends.
Yeah. One thing it did kind of highlight though is, where the hell's Spyro? Poor Spyro, right? He's not. I don't favour him as much as Crash Bandicoot. Like, Crash is my boy. However, the Spyro Reignited trilogy, fantastic collection of remastered games. This poor dragon's out here watching Crash Bandicoot get a racing game remade, getting a 4th entry in its long-time series. Now it's getting a Rumble game. And I'm actually surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised, if Spyro shows up in Crash Team Rumble as some kind of like DLC character, or probably microtransaction on Activision. But yeah, Toys for Bob, what are you doing?
He just feels very neglected, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's like the little kind of like, he's like the kid that's doing really well at stuff, but like because he's not like flashy or shouting about it, he just gets neglected. Yeah.
We have to still remember this is Bobby Kotick's Activision still.
That's true.
So if Spyro comes out and doesn't do the numbers that Crash does, because it's Spyro and not Crash, then does Spyro just get retired again? Well, we'll double down on Crash. That's the biggest seller.
Gets taken behind a little shed. And a ball gun put between its eyes.
Yeah. That's good, but we'll see. We'll see next year. Not too long to wait. So again, I am just happy to see that Crash is having a resurgence, and more importantly, I'm still happy that it's on PlayStation because
this could be his last outing on PlayStation.
It could very much indeed. So again, Xbox, Phil Spencer said in the past they'll keep legacy franchise that have a history there. But this could be one of them things where, like, you know what, you keep screwing us over with this deal, Sony, about Call of Duty. We're going to take one of your long-standing mascots away with you forever. You did this. You did this to yourself.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
So we'll see. But Crash Team Rumble, not too long in the future. Just like another game, which is also confirmed to be coming out in some time in the future, which is Armored Core 6. FromSoftware, of course, off the back of just smashing the Game Awards, Game of the Year with Elden Ring, and off the back of, I guess, Sekiro winning Game of the Year previously, Bloodborne, and just everything else that they're famed for now. They've gone back to the well to bring us the 6th entry in the Armored Core series. They showed off a crazy CGI trailer with giant mech suits fighting around, wheeling around on some kind of burning planet, and it kind of highlighted to me, and we mentioned in the pre-show, guys, that I have no clue what the hell Armored Core is and how it's made it to 6 iterations, and I have no... Other than I'm pretty sure in my mind I played a PS1 demo disc way back in the day of like little tanks that you controlled around like a planet. That's about it. That's my only take on it. No idea what it's about. Throw it over to you guys. Anything extra to add on to Armored Core? Like, this is obviously a pivot from the traditional Elden Ring, Dark Souls-born style, we would suspect.
I've definitely heard the name, but I have nothing really about the franchise. But apparently it's been basically a decade since the last Armored Core game. So while me and you, Chris, we were watching it going, what is this? And imagine there's loads of people out there who are long-time Armored Core fans seeing, oh my God, is this Armored Core? Wait a sec, this is FromSoftware. FromSoftware doing Armored Core. Like, that could be a huge hype moment for a lot of people.
Yeah. Just to see it back.
Unfortunately, probably a bit lost on us.
I think it's had like a very loyal kind of current, like, kind of following. But as you say, like, attaching like a dev house like kind of software to it can bring like a whole new kind of audience into it. The role they're on.
You wouldn't
like
put it past them.
So I think it could be like almost like a renaissance for the franchise. Like, I mean, again, I haven't played a single game, but it's basically like, it feels like a bit like a hold up from the early days of gaming, where it's like just big giant mechs having massive fights, and it's cool, but it's just never something I've picked up.
Oh, actually, the original trilogy were developed by FromSoftware.
Yeah, it's always kind of thing. It's like a return to their roots. As such.
I didn't realize that. But I thought there's like they've took over the franchise, but
no, it's theirs. It's just
FromSoftware going back to their roots. Then,
yeah, I think
probably everything they've learned in the last like 10 years.
Historically, it's been a multiplayer game with like just giant mechs versus giant mechs, and you could like upgrade your mech suit and such. But I do very much think the role they're on with the style of game they make, and like, let's face it, all of their games are traditional, like sword, bow and arrow, fight in this kind of like very specific fantasy world, where I think actually pivoting over to giant mech suits and giving it that like Soulsborne-esque inspiration. There isn't a game really out there that focuses on mech suits, right? It's always like sword, protagonist, like even Sekiro like changed up a little bit, but it was still at its root core the same as all of their other titles. And I think, mech suits with maybe like giant rockets and shit and grenades and bombs is probably just different enough to make it stop feeling like every one of their iterations are the same, because like, I just look at them all and I appreciate them from a distance like you do, Richie, and just think they look fantastic, they look fun. Not for me. And I guess this might be the same now, but we'll see. It's nice to see that they've got a portfolio of just absolute smash hits, which I think we said during the live show, FromSoft sorted for IP for the next decade. Like, they'll do a Sekiro 2, it'll make a shit ton of money. They'll do an Elden Ring 2, it'll make a shit ton of money. They'll finally go back to the well on Bloodborne with PlayStation, maybe, make a shit ton of money. And now they've got Armored Core as well. That's like the next 10, 15 years of game development pipeline. Clear, and it's going to print money for these guys. So,
well, yeah, if you think of basically the franchises they have at the moment, they've got Bloodborne, they've got Dark Souls, they've got Demon Souls, they've got Elden Ring, and now they're bringing back Armored Core. That's a lot of work on.
Yeah. It's crazy how they can just like not do anything with Bloodborne still.
Sekiro as well. Like,
yeah. Game of the Year winning Sekiro at the same time. So, Armored Core, we'll see more about that, no doubt, in the future. One of the things we won't have to wait too long for Final Fantasy XVI got a new trailer showing off gameplay, in fact, and a date of June 22nd, 2023, with pre-orders available now for Digital Standard and Deluxe Edition. Reading from the PlayStation blog, they kind of went into more of the powers, the kind of titanic bosses you'll fight, some of the action style, and we kind of theorized and talked about during the live show about what to expect. You have a wolf/canine companion who you can summon and send in, but I guess Richie, I have to lean on you for the Final Fantasy stuff. June, busy summer.
Yeah.
Does this bubble to the surface for your top game next year, or will it get lost in the mix with the other stuff?
It's definitely high up on the list. I love 15, even though 15 seemed like to be one of them games where it just kept coming out for ages.
Mm-hmm.
But I love my time with it. I've loved my time with 7 Remake, going all the way back to 10 is like kind of the first Final Fantasy I really sunk my teeth into. So I'm like, next year is going to be the year of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, there's a lot of it coming out, isn't there? How about you, Rob? Where are you sitting June 22nd?
Like, Final Fantasy for me, it was one of my favourite franchises growing up as a kind of a kid and a teenager. But it's kind of, the direction it's took on kind of last gen and current gen consoles just wasn't really for me. The one that really put me off was, what was it now? I think it was 13 where you played, was it Lightning you played as in 13?
I don't know,
I've
got big gaps in my Final Fantasy knowledge where there's some games I just like, I need to play this, and other games it's like, nah, pass.
Yeah, but I played 13 and that was the one that kind of really brought the franchise into kind of like, I think it would have been PS3, I think, at the time. And it just wasn't for me. It wasn't kind of a turn-based thing. It wasn't kind of methodical and things like that.
Yeah, going more action-focused.
Yeah, and that just wasn't for me. So
7?
I don't think I'll even
7
pick this one up, to be honest.
7 has a kind of hybrid system now where you do have some action-focused stuff, but then you still have your active time battle system. So when your gauge is full, that's when you can use abilities.
Yeah, and the thing for me, like, I'm always motivated by story more than anything else when it comes to a game. And the stories in the old Final Fantasy games still deliver for me. So I don't feel the need to kind of look at the current gen Final Fantasy if I want a Final Fantasy fix. Sad to say it, but I'll probably skip this one.
Yeah, it's kind of a big ask to. I know one of the selling points, and you've mentioned it a few times, Richie, is that having someone who's never really played through any Final Fantasy, and now it's up to 16. I'm dwarfed by thinking this is the 16 entry, and I have no clue. And everyone always goes like, "Oh, don't worry, it's a whole new cast list and location, everything." But I guess that kind of works against it in a lot of ways for long-time fans, where every iteration, like numeric iteration, you've got to kind of prep yourself for I have to learn everything for they have to convince you with the story. And I know this one's leaning more into kind of the medieval fantasy instead of the traditional kind of futuristic elements. And I guess it is a big ask on all fronts for long-time fans and brand new to totally buy into this brand new story, essentially, with characters and world. Mm-hmm. And I guess Richie is probably the more in tune with Final Fantasy. Does this, with the 7, is it the middle game? Was it Reunion, Rebirth, whatever? We don't know what the name is they give for the 2/3 of the remake coming this year as well.
The second one is Rebirth.
Right.
You got Remake, then Rebirth, and then whatever the third.
And this is all just stuff that makes me go, I'll just play something else. Because this again had my interest, and then I feel like as we're getting closer, I'm now starting to waver a little bit on it. Like the more I see of it, I'm like, it just looks like more Final Fantasy and that. And when you say there's the hybrid nature of the combat, I'm like, okay, that still doesn't do anything for me.
I must admit, this trailer at the Game Awards just didn't move the needle anymore for me. I'm not more hyped or less hyped than I was. I'm still it's another Final Fantasy. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, it's just more. It all starts to look the same after a while. That's my. I think because we've had so many remakes and remasters. Mm-hmm. I think is it Crisis Core came out last week or it comes out this week. Yeah. I just feel like it's just more and more and more and more, and it's someone who's never played it. It's like okay, it's too much. Even though I know it's a fresh starting point with 16. I'm now starting to get put off by just it's too much of an IP to get into.
That fresh starting point, I think it can be sometimes it can be good for new people who are interested because you can just this could be my first Final Fantasy. You don't have to worry about the previous 15 plus games because there's some of the games.
I do worry.
You really don't. But it also means that they are starting from fresh every single new numbered iteration. so you don't have that continuity of characters, and so they can be very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Like, being realistic, it's a miracle this franchise has survived as long as it has on that model. When you think about, when you look at it objectively, it's an insane model to base a franchise around.
Yeah, like I think it's got this point where when you think of JRPGs, you think of Final Fantasy. It's the first thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the epitome of that genre, which even though actually the more newer games, they're kind of stepped away from what you'd expect traditionally from it, and they've went very much slightly more Western focused, making them more action heavy. But yeah,
crazy, lots. Well, instead of taking the same story and doing it differently every single time, why don't we stick with the same protagonist? And that's in the form of our next story from the Game Awards, which is Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. Can't wait for this one. Coming on 17th of March, St. Paddy's Day, right? 17th of March?
I don't know.
Well, we're not Irish, so that's no surprise.
Yeah.
Can you tell us when St. George's Day is, Richie?
I can't.
Damn you. No wonder England lost. Anyway, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is available for pre-order now, and it's returning back. They showed off a trailer. They had Cal Kestis himself show up on stage, rocking a lightsaber, which I think we were saying during the Game Awards. It was like, how badass must this guy feel that he gets to walk out on stage in front of, like, genuine, like, passionate, like, cause again, doing it at like an Oscars award or something, you'd get a lot of people there like, oh, I don't like Star Wars, but at a video game conference to rock out with a lightsaber, with the sound, with the orchestra playing behind you as well, and you literally look like the character. It's not like Cal Kestis doesn't look like his real life counterpart. Rocking some facial hair, by the way. Cal's gone through some shit in the last time since we saw him in Jedi Fallen Order, which, no surprise, he's on the run from Darth Vader after all. March 17th, not too far away. Can't wait for that. It looks like they've added new features in, like you can dual wield single lightsabers. They've added in the Kylo Ren inspired style lightsabers with the crossguard on them. Looks like loads of new enemies, loads of new threats, and some more force powers as well. Absolutely adored Fallen Order, and I can't wait for this one. I think it's going to just reiterate, and I'm hoping it's going to be like the Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed, where the first one had a lot of good features, but this is now, they've had another few years in the oven to really, really just hone in on what a Star Wars story-driven third-person game should be. Can't wait. Rob, where are you sitting on this Star Wars world and Cal Kestis' ventures?
So, like, two parts to this. So, first of all, the actual trailer is probably the most perfect game trailer I've seen in a long time. It's like a really nice mix of giving some story elements away, but not too much, and then splicing that in with, like, gameplay really, really well. I love that about it. Secondly, going back to your point on Assassin's Creed versus Assassin's Creed 2, I think like the really great sequels in gaming history come from building on the foundations of what you already have, as opposed to like either A, just doing more the same, or B, going in like a really mad direction. Like, this seems like it's doing the perfect thing of kind of taking the really cool force powers and like the same enemy types, but like creating something different with them. There's the scene where they have like the heavy, like the minigun, and like the force power kind of turns around and shoots back on your enemies. Stuff like that is how you make a really good sequel. And I haven't purchased a game on day one for a long time, but this is going to be the one that I do. So very, very excited for this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. This is day one purchase for me, and it's kind of like that time of the year where whatever like the crazy busy period of the first 3 months is, this is for 2023 my first kind of big tentpole. I cannot wait for this. Like, that's the type of thing I'll add a countdown to my phone for, just so I know how long it is till it comes out. Richie, over to you. Where are you sitting on the Jedi?
I don't really have that much to add, to be honest. I think you've said everything that needs to be said. Unlike like you used to, I didn't actually love the first one. I really enjoyed it, but I don't know. There was something.
It was the map. The map was shit. We can all admit
the map was terrible.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, the map was shit. So there's elements of like the camera stuff just made the game harder than it needed to be. I think there was a bit of like a little too much of a Dark Soulsiness to this, trying to make it the game harder for the sake of being harder, where I just want to enjoy a fantastic Star Wars story. However, the story of that game, it's great.
Yeah.
Like I said during the Game Awards, give this man his own movie. he's got the acting chops to do it, and I want to play this game.
Yeah.
So
they could actually just make the game into an actual Disney Plus series. I'd quite happily watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, take out the fighting bits that you play in the game and just give me extended cutscenes, like the stuff with his master Jaro Tapal, I think, like with the flashbacks and stuff, and then how that ties into the big reveal thing near the end of the game, and it all just works so well. And his side characters as well, like Greasy Money, baby, give us that, get that back in. It's gonna be so cool.
And this, I think, you're right. This is despite how stacked like March is, this is the pick of the bunch for me.
Again, Respawn just smashing out the park for EA at the moment, so we'll see more. And I'm hoping Cameron Monaghan's his name. I'm hoping he gets to pop up in like the Ahsoka series or something, because that's the weird thing with Star Wars laws. Now everything is just one canon since Disney took over. Like this guy is out there right now, taking place between all of these shows we're watching on Disney Plus. Like every 6 months when a new Star Wars thing drops, he exists out there. And I think the fact that he looks like the actor identically, they could just like get it. Like he is an actor first and foremost. I think I said you in the showcase, Richie, he absolutely smashed out of the park with his rendition of the Joker in the Gotham TV series. Like he was fantastic in that. So he's got the chops. Just like, yeah, give him his real lightsaber and let him do it in person. And BD8 was it called? BD12,
BB8.
BD1?
BD1. The robot droid.
There's too many droids.
It's BD1,
There's too many droids now. Everyone needs a droid companion sidekick, but I do think his one in this BD1. Yeah,
sell that match.
So it's so cool. Like I want to see that in live action as well. But we digress. We don't have to wait too much longer for the Force return, but we shall see.
I'd love him to have like a cameo, like role in Ahsoka to kind of establish him in the lore, and then give him his own series.
Yeah, that'd be great. He could fight Ahsoka. She could be like, I sense another Force user, and they could maybe train together.
Yeah.
We'll see. Rounding things out for this show, though, a couple of new bits. Just quick news, basically. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League did get a new trailer, and they did an order of respect to the late Kevin Conroy, who recently passed. It's coming on May 26th, 2023, so after multiple delays for Rocksteady's next entry in the Batman Arkham universe. They did reveal that this will be Kevin Conroy's last time playing Batman, so it sounds like he's already done a lot of work behind the scenes for voice recordings and such, and he gets to go out on a high with what's hopefully going to be one of the biggest games of next year, because I think I've not really been feeling this one. I wasn't feeling Gotham Knights. That thing shit the bed and ruined that. Don't know what's going to happen with WB Montreal now, but then I feel like Rocksteady, it's been so long coming, this one, like a 2015 Arkham Knight, like this needs to land, and I think Batman being the center of it, like again, you said time and time again, Richie, like they're trying to make Suicide Squad a thing, and I don't think anyone cares about it as much as the heads at DC think they do. So this game needs to land to like really, I think, elevate why I should give a shit about the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad could be a thing. Suicide Squad could be a thing, but they need to establish each of the villains independently as antagonists. Like, you can't just like the problem they've done with the films, in my opinion, is you just threw these characters in together. Like, he's an Australian guy with a boomerang. He's a shark. You should like these guys. And just like, well, I don't care about any of them at all.
I mean, let's be real. Like,
so you need to establish them first.
Yeah,
like,
the first
movies,
like, it was Margot Robbie and to an extent Will Smith that carried those movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's not
Rick
much else
Flag
redeeming.
didn't do it for you?
Ironically, like, the good thing is I'd be more interested in a Suicide Squad movie now because they established Peacemaker and it's in a good TV show.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, but obviously, like, I just don't care enough about the other characters.
Well, we won't rest too much on that one because it might even get delayed again. Yeah, but it's nice to see them pay an ode to Kevin Conroy in there. And you're right, Rob. Suicide Squad, the second one was better, maybe because they put Idris Elba front and center, just like they did for the new Cyberpunk DLC expansion that was teased at the Game Awards. That's right, they did a little overspeech thing. They showed off some more Phantom Liberty content coming for Cyberpunk, and then they revealed that Idris Elba will be showing up as a character named Solomon Reed, which is an FIA agent for the new United States of America, and his character is going to be pivotal to the expansion story, where you'll see both Keanu Reeves and Elba in the latest trailer. We don't know what's going to happen. Richie, you finished Cyberpunk, as did you, Rob, right?
Yeah.
I think, does adding this star quality talent of Idris Elba elevate this expansion to like a must buy now?
I mean, for me, it seems a bit lazy. I don't know if that's unfair to say, but I think like I don't want kind of.
Would
CD
anyone
Projekt
care about this as much if it didn't have his celebrity face attached to it now?
Yeah, and I don't want like a game studio to get to the point where it's like, oh, we'll just put an actor in the game, and it'll be like, oh, it's that guy, and he's in the game, and he looks.
I mean, that's exactly how I reacted during the trailer, because I think
Exactly.
I think I heard the voice right, Richie, and I was like, that sounds like Idris Elba, and then like 10 seconds later, it revealed his face, and it was like, oh shit! And if it was a random guy, I wouldn't have given a shit.
I understand your worry, Rob. It's my thing with like The Rock, where a studio comes up with just a bland action film, puts The Rock in it, and they know it'll sell a lot. But it doesn't make it any better of a film. But I think with Idris Elba, he's got the acting chops, doing a really great performance. But to be honest, I have no interest in the DLC for this game at all.
I think it's a bit too far past, isn't it, at this point for me
Maybe in the future, if I ever find myself with a lot of free time and decide to jump back into Cyberpunk, maybe I'll play the DLC at that point.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is a
eventually.
controversial opinion from me, okay? But I don't think Keanu Reeves added a massive amount to the first Cyberpunk game. That's going to be a bad take, and I'll probably get shit in the comments for it. But
I know what you mean. You could have cast anyone as Johnny Silverhands, and
which is why I think it's lazy.
Close to his performance.
Which is why I think it trends towards laziness with Idris Elba, because they're like, oh well, everyone loved when Keanu came on stage, and someone said he's beautiful, and then all Redditors made a meme of it.
It's an easy win, isn't it? It's an easy win.
Yeah.
I do think it'll be a missed opportunity if, because of the nature of Johnny Silverhand's character in Cyberpunk, he might not have an opportunity to interact with Idris Elba at all. Which I think having the two of them on the payroll and not have them have like scenes together is kind of like unfortunate. But unless they kind of figure a way around, I'm sure they will, because having them both be such predominant figures and then they basically never meet in the game will be a bit of a like, oh, that's a bit crap.
If I remember, like Johnny Silverhands can take over V's body at times.
Oh, spoilers!
Spoilers for game 2, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fair.
2,
game now.
Is it? You think?
I
mean, remember, loads of people give up on it because it was a broken mess.
Yeah, I mean, I won't like if I'm talking to Richie about Shadow of War, I won't purposely do spoilers for that. But
Sauron dies
on a general level. Then
what? I loved him. He was great.
Your idol. But I mean, we'll have a long while to wait anyway. I'm sure we'll showcase off more as we get into it. One of the final pieces for the week, we've got a few dates. The Last of Us Part 1 gets a PC release date early next year. 3rd of March, the Naughty Dog remake remaster title drops. And conveniently, Richie, that ties in perfectly with the end of the HBO Sky Atlantic TV series.
It's almost
no surprise.
planned it.
It is. So you watch 9 episodes of The Last of Us TV show, you have a great time, and then hey, there's going to be a massive marketing campaign around this coming out on PC, and then no doubt there'll be a sale on the PS5 version of it, and it's again perfect synergy across multiple brands. You'll love to see it. And then the next final piece of news we've got is Returnal, which has been leaked and Steam listing and stuff is coming to PC for quite some time now. Also had a trailer in the PC show. Jeez, getting tired now. In the pre-show about that coming to PC as well. Early 2023. It's finally official and it's going to come across. Either of you two check out Returnal at all? Like, it's one that it's just the look of it just didn't do anything for me at all, even though I like Housemarque games. So coming to PC, this is going to look great on PC. The one thing that did look fantastic was the art style and the animations and everything going on. But
I look forward to seeing the mods.
Yes, that's it. The big question, I guess, is will Returnal do better or worse than Sackboy's Big Adventure in terms of PC sales?
Easy better.
Who knows?
Easy better.
Easily?
If Returnal feels like a PC game.
Yeah.
It feels like people that are hardcore on the PC could be into this game. Where Sackboy's Big Adventure is like it has a very, very traditional console-y vibe to it.
Yeah.
And borderline. It could. If you told someone who knew nothing about video games in the last 20 years, where Sackboy's Big Adventure is a Nintendo game, they go, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess Returnal had like it's a bigger game of a more recent. I think last summer it just had like a moment in the sun for about 3 months where everyone I listened to, gaming podcasts and such, were just gushing over it, saying how like frustrating, but equal, almost like with a Soulsborne undertone to, where it's tough and you will die loads, but like that's part of the drive to like keep going, keep pushing, keep getting better. So PC release, yep, fantastic, and that'll bring just another PlayStation first party title over to the world of PC. So no doubt it'll get Steam Deck verified as well, and there's that cross synergy going for PlayStation. So not too long to see on that one. And then the final piece of news which we got from the showcase was we got confirmation Moss 1 and the Moss 2 VR titles, which are available now on PlayStation VR, will be launching next February in line with the PSVR 2 release. Moss actually won Best VR... Moss 2, won Best VR Game at the Game Awards, so just to show you the level of quality. So if you're picking up a PSVR 2, if you're out there, you pre-ordered it for February next year, this alongside probably inevitably Beat Saber and Horizon Call of the Mountain will be the go-to ones. If you've not played Moss, it's about a tiny little mouse in a fairy tale world, and you're a character that overlooks the fairy tale world, and you can control things in the environment to help this mouse through the world. It's like a 3D platformer. So you do play as the mouse, but then also this kind of sentient creature who can kind of like move blocks so she can climb up and that. But it's a cute little mouse in VR. What more do you need to know? Coming out as well. But that does bring us to an end for this very show, and also our Game Awards breakdown. If there's any games we've not really mentioned or we've missed in this particular show, go check out yesterday's episode of the X-Pass, where no doubt we break down a little bit more depth into a few titles, and we talk about all things from the green side of the coin. We've also got an episode of Cloud Quest that goes up on Free Phase this Friday, where we're going to be breaking down all of the Stadia news in relation to dev kits leaking, refunds going through, and a couple of other stories along the way, because it's been a while since we've covered it, so we're going to delve back into that world and explore that. And of course, if you are a Helix hero, you can get all of that content right now. It's available right now to our members of the channel. Over 50 of you support us, and we do appreciate your patronage. And if you want to support the channel and join, just click down below. Little as 99p gets you all that early access goodness. That's been it, though, for this week. Thank you for everyone watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us all on social feeds. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
And we have been unorthodox, reformed, Bill Clinton fans, Game Awards, whatever outro.
Big up, Bill.
Big up, Bill. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great week and play whatever makes you the happiest. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.